Uh, Any of the items that convey tumor through Ohel, they were divided and brought into a house. Reb Dosav and Harkness rules in Tahor while the common room Tame. How so? If someone touches two pieces of animal carcass, each one half the size of an olive, and carries them, or in the case of a corpse, if someone touches a piece of flesh half the size of an olive, and simultaneously forms a roof over another piece half of the size of the olive, so he touches a piece of flesh half the size of an olive, and another piece half the size of an olive forms a roof over him, or he forms a roof over two pieces, and half the size of an olive, or the person forms a roof over a piece of corpse half the size of an olive, and a piece half the size of an olive forms a roof over him. Rav Dosi and Harkness rules him tahor while the common room tame. But if someone touches a piece of corpse flesh half the size of an olive and simultaneously touches something forms a roof over him, and a different piece of corpse flesh half the size of an olive, or one forms a roof over a piece of corpse flesh half the size of an olive, and simultaneously something forms a roof over him, and a different piece of corpse flesh half the size of an olive, he remains tahor. Ramea says, even in this case, Reb Dosa ben Harkness rules in Tahor and the Mekame rules Tame. Everyone becomes Tame in the above situations, except where tumor contracted through touch coincide with tumor contracted through carrying, and the cases in which tumor contracted through carrying coincide with tumor contracted through ohel. This is the rule. Anything in the same category is Tame, where those in different categories remain Tahor. If a laden full of corpse powder was scattered inside a house, the house becomes Tame. Reb Shimon declares it Tahor. If a quart of log of blood was absorbed into a house, the house is tahor. If blood was absorbed into a garment, if the quart of log of blood comes out when the garment is washed, the garment is tameh. If not, it remains tahor, because whatever is absorbed and cannot come out is tahor. Okay, good. Oh,
Two more. Hold on.
okay.
Yeah. You just read Aleph, right?
I did Gimel Aleph,
Yeah. So we
Gimel
need
Bet,
Gimel Bet and Gimel.
right. A quarter log of coarse blood was filled in the air, and at the place where the blood spill was on an incline, and a person formed an ohel over that part of the blood, he remains tahor. If the blood was in a crack or if it was congealed, the person remains tahor, tamei. If the blood was spilled onto the threshold of a house that inclines either inward or outward, and the house forms a roof over it, the house becomes tahor. If the blood was in a crack or if it congealed, the house remains tamei. And every part of a corpse is tamei except for the teeth, the hair, um, the hair, and the nails. But while they are connected to the body, they are all tummy. Okay.
Yes, right.
That's it.
Okay, yes, that's it. Okay, good. So Mishnah Dalet is a follow-on from Gimel, which just explains about the hair and the nails. Okay, Ketzad, how so? Hames mibachutz. So if you have a dead body on the doorstep, usaro bifnim, and his hair extends to under the roof. Okay, habayis tame, that makes the entire house tame. Etzem sheyesh alav kazayis basar. Now, not only that, but if you have a bone that has a kazayis of flesh on it. Now, kazayis of flesh from a body, that's already matame ba'ohel. The bone by itself would not be matame ba'ohel unless it's in sufficient quantity. A single bone is not enough. Okay, remember it's got to be rova atamot. A quarter kav of bones is quite a large quantity. So now what you've got is a like a long bone that's acting as a handle to a kazai's piece of flesh. So the flesh is sitting outside, but the bone extends to under the roof. Okay. If part of the bone extends into the house, habayis ma'ahil alav, and the house is an oil over it, tameh. The tumah extends to the whole house now. Okay, because even though the only it's only a piece of bone that's underneath the roof, but the bone acts as a handle to the flesh, and therefore it's considered like the flesh is under the roof as well. Okay. Furthermore, not only that, but shnei atzamos, you've got two bones, and each one has only got a half a kazayas. Obviously, we're talking about from the same mace, because otherwise that machlokes that we spoke about before between Rabbi Akiva and the Chachamim, where we paskin like the Chachamim that it's got to be from one mace in order to combine to a kazayas. But here, the combination of the two chatzizaisim is done along two bones. Okay. So all that is happening is that the house is overshadowing two bones, each of which is only connected to a half a kazayas, tame. So the yad functions as a yad even to only a half a zayas. Okay. Yeah, right. Adam. But what happens if the flesh was not originally stuck to the bone, but a person came and stuck the flesh to that bone? Okay, that's tahor. She'ein chibure adam chibur, because if a person came and artificially attached the flesh to the bone, that's not considered a connection, and therefore if it's just the bone that's under the roof, that's not considered a connection to the tumor. Okay, all good.
Okay.
Okay, excellent. So we spoke in Mishnah base about dam tavusa. So the two types. The dam hames is blood that comes out of a dead body is tame midoraisa, and dam tavusa, which we'll define now. Dam tavusa is tame drabanan. But it's so now this Mishnah is sort of referring back to that original Mishnah and saying, okay, well, what's the definition of dam tavusa? We said that a revius of dam tavusa is metame be'ohel midirabanan. Okay, and now we want to see the definition of that. Okay, so what is it? So a dead body that lost blood before the person died and afterwards, and half of the measure of a revius was from living blood and half was from dead blood. Okay, Divrei Rabbi Akiva. So thus says Rabbi Akiva. That's the definition of dam tavusa that we say is tamei d'Rabbanan. Okay, Rabbi Yishmael Omer revius b'chayav revius b'moso. He says no, it doesn't qualify as dam tavusa unless you have a full revius measure of each of blood from before death and blood from after death, and there's the mixture, and then so now you've got a half a log, but then that got divided in half again, and now you've got so from this mixture you took out a revius, so that revius would then be metame be'ohel. Okay. And so he's being slightly more makil. He's saying that you need the original measure of a revius of each type before this can be called a dam tavusa. Otherwise, it's batel. If it was less than of each kind, then we call it batel. Okay.
I didn't know that there were so many liquids that can come out of a dead person. I didn't realize that.
So far we only got okay. I know it's kind of gross talking about it, but we are just talking about two different types of blood from before death and blood from after death.
Oh, there were other things also he was speaking about.
Oh yes. I mean, there's corpse rot, which is after as the body decomposes and as some sort of gelatinous substance comes out, which doesn't bear thinking about too hard unless you're like a Musanik and you want to like really get it into yourself that one day your body's going to be like that.
I don't like to think.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
That must have some effect on the people who are doing tahara.
So, but when they're doing the tahara, it's not like that yet.
Oh, really? Oh.
It'll take time. It takes time for a body to decompose.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, not that I have the experience of this. I've never done a tahara myself. But I do not expect that the body starts decomposing that quickly. Okay. Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Yehuda Omer says, nah, you guys don't know what you're talking about. This is nothing. Both of the cases that Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Yishmael said, that's it's completely tahor. There's nothing. So what's the case of dam tavusa that we say is tameh? Ezu dam tavusa tzaluv. Somebody who was crucified, okay, shedamo shoses, his blood, and while he's being crucified, his blood is flowing out of him. V'nimtza tachtav revius dam, and underneath him is found a revius of blood. Okay, that is tameh. This is why. Why is this one tame? Because it is. Sorry, just a second. This is the Medin Dam Tavusa. Okay. Talov. Aval Hameis Shedam Menatef Venimtza Tachta Rebius Dam Tahor. But if somebody was found that his blood was dripping, and underneath it, again, the same crucified guy, if his blood was not flowing, but it was just dripping, and now you find a revius of blood, that's considered tahor. Okay, why? So why does he insist that it has to be flowing hard? Because then the majority of the blood that came out is presumed to have come from when he was dead. Remember, the dead blood is the one that's the matame. Blood from a living person is not matame. So if you go to the blood bank and you make a donation, and there's a revius of blood in there, is it revius? Yeah, that should have a revius of blood inside a donation bag. Okay, so that is not matame. That comes from a living person. Okay, so it's only the blood that comes from a dead person that we say is doraisa, and devusa is an admixture of it's a mixture of that with living blood. So he says only if the blood is flowing hard, because then we can presume that the majority of the blood that was in there is from, and the blood from the moment of death is inside that mixture, and therefore it's tame. But if it's just dripping, then some of the blood, then the blood that originally started there was from when he was alive, and everything that comes in drop by drop, each drop after drop is batal inside the original mixture. So as it goes in, it's batal. Next one, it's batal. So it never moves past being blood from a living person, and therefore it remains tahor. Rabbi Yehuda comes along and he says, "Lochi el hashoses tahor v'hamanatef tame." He says, "Punkt verkehrt." So because now remember, Rabbi Yehuda is the guy who, when we're talking about bittul, says ein bittul min b'mino. He says when you've got min b'mino, there's no such thing as bittul. Blood cannot be mebatel blood. So he says when it's dripping, each drop is coming out of is accumulating, and it's never batel. And by this stage, you assume that it will become tame. However, if it flows hard, then it's tahor. Okay, why does he say that it's tahor? Because shani omer osati pasheneshama tuloya bo amdala al gabe ha'etz, because it's possible that the blood that came out at the moment of death is still adhering to the wood, and in the revius of blood that so the blood does not contain the blood that came from the moment of death. But okay, I don't know how that. I'm not sure exactly how that answers how that gets better when the blood is dripping. But at any rate, the halacha. The halacha is that Hafer is like Rabbi Akiva, I think. Harug sheyatza mimenu revius dam b'chayim v'moson. Shedas chachamim shebeseftahi kedas Rabbi Akiva. Yeah. So the halacha is going to follow Rabbi Akiva. Okay. Mishna Vav. Kazayis min hameis pischo b'tefach. Okay, so if you have if you have a corpse or a piece of a corpse inside a house. Now, if the doors are all open inside the house, then the tumor spreads throughout the house. However, if doors are closed, then it's possible that some of the house will be protected. And that is if you've already designated an exit path for the mace, then only the things on the way to that exit path become tame. But if there's a part of the house that's closed off and is not part of the exit path, then things inside that part of the house are protected. Okay. But how much of an opening is considered an exit path? So so for example, if you've got a mace in a room with a window, and you decide, well, you don't want anything inside the house to become tame. So then let's say, as the person is dying, you close the door in the room where he is, and there's a window in that room, and say that's the way we're going to take him out.
Right.
And
Right.
say, okay, so now we'll see, that's kind of our case in this mission over here. So if all you have is a kazayis min mace, just a very small piece, tefach, all you need is a window, a tefach square. Okay, that's enough, and that's enough to pass the thing out through that window, and the rest of the house will be protected again as long as the doors are closed. The mace pischo be'arba tvachim. However, for a full mace, you need 4 tvachim by 4 tvachim in order to get the mace out. Okay, so if you've got a window that big and you say, okay, the mace is going to go out that way, then the rest of the house will be protected. Latzil hatuma ala pesachim, in order to protect the tumah from all the other entrances. However, the tumah will travel through any gap in any other walls that is the size of a tefach square, even if it's a full mace. Right? So in order to protect the rest of the house, you would have to make sure that any apertures that are going into other parts of the house that are more than a tefach they have to be sealed. Okay, gadol mikazais. If you have a piece of flesh that's bigger than a kazais, then it's considered like a full mace. It's interesting because it's like there's such a small thing. How do you say it's exactly a kazais? Like even a fraction more, now it's going to be considered like a full mace, and it needs a 4 tefach window. Rabbi Yossi Omer Hashidra Gulgolis Kameis. If you have a spine or a skull that's less than a kazayas, it's still considered like a full mace. That could happen from a miscarriage.
Right.
Okay. So if that's that is considered like a full mace, and needs a 4 tefach square window in order to get out and save the rest of the house. Okay, and that's it for Ohalos today.
Okay.
Let's do what we can.
The remnants of a prod from above. The measure is 4 handbreadths. The handle of a spade, the measure is 4 handbreadths. The handle of a matak, which for pounding, is the measure is 5 handbreadths, and the handle of a small hammer, the measure is 5 handbreadths, and that of a hammer is also 6 handbreadths. The handle of an axe for splitting wood and for hoeing, the measure is 6 handbreadths, and the handle of a stonemason's chill is measure is 6 handbreadths. The remnants of the blade from below, the measure is 7 handbreadths. The handle of a household shovel, Beis Shammai says the measure is 7 handbreadths. Beis Hillel says the measure is 8 handbreadths. The handle of a shovel of plasterers, Beis Shammai says the measure is 9 handbreadths. Beis Hillel says it's 10 handbreadths. The length of the handle of more than this, and it wishes to observe the length, it's tameh. And the handle of utensils that are used with fire, the measure is at any length. Regarding the last utensils, the fat was a tahar, but the hollow was a tameh. And if they break, they become tahar. If one remade the broken utensils into new utensils, they are susceptible to tumah from then on. And the table and its kutla is made of glass or tahor. If they have a rim, they are tameh. Regarding the bottom of a plate and the bottom of it is kutla made of glass, from which one has designated for use, or tahor. If you smooth them or shave them with a file, they are tameh.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. Just whose opening is on its side can become tummy with midrash tuma and with corpse tuma. And Rabbi Yossi says, when is this so? When it's not 10 handbreadths high and it has no rim of that 1 handbreadth. If the chest became damaged on its top, it became tummy with corpse tuma. If it became damaged at its bottom, it may have moved the tummy, but the sages rule the tower, because when the primary function of utensil is disabled, the secondary function is considered disabled as well. Regarding a Maspella's container, became too damaged. All pomegranates. Rabbi said this tummy, this common room with tahor, because when the primary function of the utensil is disabled, the secondary function is considered to be disabled as well. Regarding pillows, mattresses, cacks, and matufin that became damaged, these can become tummy with midrash tuma. A feed basket that has a capacity of 4 calves, a shepherd's poach with a capacity of 5 calves, a caresis with a capacity of a sod, a water skin with a capacity of 7 calves. The Yehuda says also a spice bag and a traveler's bag of any size. All of these are acceptable to tumor, a midrash tumor, for if any of these become damaged, they are tahor because the primary function is disabled and the secondary function is disabled as well. Okay.
Okay.
And we go on to Mila.
Ela.
Mila, base above, right? The stay halechem are subject to melila when they are unconsecrated. Once they crust in the oven, may become prepared to be disqualified through contact with a teva yom or through contact with a miskusa purim. And they become fit to become stored at the shlomin offering on account of them. Once the blood of the lambs is sprinkled upon the altar, one is liable on account of the shtei lachem, the pigel, noser, and tummy, and they're no longer subject to a melila. The lechem b'panav is subject to me'ilah from when it is consecrated. Once it crusts in the oven, it becomes prepared to be disqualified through contact with the tel yom, through contact with the makusa form, and it becomes fit to be arranged upon the shulchan. Once the spoons of the levana are offered upon the altar, one is liable on account of the lechem b'panav, from the pickle, noser, and tameh, and the lechem b'panav is no longer subject to me'ilah. The mikvah offerings are subject to me'ilah when they are consecrated only, and once they are consecrated in a sacred vessel, they become prepared. Once they are consecrated in a sacred vessel, they become prepared to be disqualified through contact with the tel yom, through contact with the pusa kapurim, or through remaining past their time. Once the kumet is offered upon the altar, one is liable on account of the milcha for pickle, yinos, and tameh, and the remnants are not subject to me'ilah, but the kumet is subject to me'ilah until it goes out to the place of ashes. Okay, and we have idios. Okay, idios. Bet Zion. There are 3 things that the disciples stated before Rabbi Akiva. 2 of the things they said in the name of Rabbi Eliezer.
Rabbi Shmuel.
You have Rabbi Shmuel and Zion?
Vav. Oh, yeah, we're in Vav.
Oh, so that's why. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, there are 2 things that Rabbi Israel said and that Rabbi Akiva did not agree with him. Garlic, unripe grapes, and unripe grain that one crushed while it's still day. Rabbi Israel says he may finish it after dark. Rabbi Akiva says he may not finish after dark. There are 3 things that disciples stated before Rabbi Akiva. 2 of the things they said in the name of Rabbi Eliezer, and 1 they said in the name of Yeshua. The 2 things they said in the name of Rabbi Eliezer were: a woman may go out with a city of gold on the Sabbath, and pigeon flyers are unfit for testimony. And the 1 thing said to Rabbi Akiva in the name of Rabbi Yeshua was that the sheretz was in the mouth of a weasel, and the weasel was walking over some loaves of truma, so that there is doubt whether the sheretz touched the truma or did not touch the truma. The doubt is ruh tahu. Rabbi Akiva, was that it? No, Rabbi Akiva said 3 things, containing 2 things the sages agree with him, and concerning 1 they did not agree with him. Concerning a lime worker sandal, the sages agree that it's acceptable to the tomb of midrash. And the sages also agree with Rabbi Akiva concerning the remnants of an oven that they must be at least 4 tefachim in size. But the sages used to say that the 3 tefachim was sufficient, but they conceded to Rabbi Akiva. And concerning one they did not agree with him, namely concerning a chair from which 2 of its slats were removed, one next to the other, which Akiva declares unsusceptible to tumah, contamination, but the Became declared not susceptible to tumah, contamination. Okay, and last,
Right. So no, I'm going to need to leave at this point. I'm going to leave you to do the rest of the program yourself. Okay.
All right. Have a great day. Enjoy.